So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 26th chapter, and verse number 24, 23. These are teachings of Lord Kapila to his mother Devhuti, and he is explaining how the Prakriti becomes manifest by the influence of time. And the first element which came into existence is the Chitta, where the consciousness becomes manifest. And the consciousness in Chitta is without any object. It is objectless consciousness or pure consciousness. Later on, when the same consciousness filters down to the level of mind, then this consciousness becomes polluted by the object because it becomes related with a particular object. And he gave the qualities of Chitta, which he says that it is pure, without any modification, and peaceful. It is the place where Lord is realized. Now in this verse he says that from this, the next element which comes is the Ahankara. And Chitta is and Mahatattva are the same. So he says, Mahatattvad vikurvanad bhagavad virya sambhavat kriya shaktir ahankara strividha samapadyata. When Mahatattva got modified by the potency of the Lord, then Ahankara, which is the Kriya Shakti or energy to act, became manifest, and it has three divisions in it, Trividha. So Ahankara is the next tattva or element which came out of Chitta or Mahatattva. Mahatattva is predominated with Jnana or consciousness, and Ahankara is predominantly action. But it has three divisions, and therefore there will be three groups of elements which will come from this. So Ahankara is that which gives the feeling of individuality. Above Ahankara there is no feeling of individuality. That's why I said that it is just Chetana, awareness or consciousness, but not related with anything. There is no object-subject relationship in that consciousness. And thus it is like impersonal awareness, something like Brahman realization. But when Ahankara develops, then we get our feeling of individuality. So it has two features to it, Ahankara. One is called Asmita, means I exist. And then Ahankara means I do or I act. I am the agent. Both are related to Ahankara. So sometimes the word Asmita is also used. But more general word is Ahankara. And this is the Kriya Shakti. So the commentary of Sri Vishwanath on this, he says that Ahankarasya utpatti purvakam lakshanamaha. The definition of Ahankara along with its birth or appearance is being described in this verse. Kriya Shaktiriti Uplakshanam Gyan Kriya Dravyeshu Api Tasya Shaktimatvat. So all the Ahankara is called here as Kriya Shakti, or potency to act, but it includes other two potencies also, the potency to know and to manifest material objects. So basically there are three things we do in this material world. We acquire knowledge, we perform actions, and we accumulate matter. So this is how ego functions in three ways. And it also gives birth to three groups of elements related with knowledge, action, and objects. So more ahankara one has, more one will act in the world. And if ahankara level goes down, then people become depressed. Right? Some people have depression, means that their ahankara tattva is down. If you give them an injection of ahankara, they'll stand up and do something. Because ahankara is not making you sit peacefully, wants to do something, take some action, take charge, to show yourself to the world that I am also there, to express yourself in different ways. This is the nature of ahankara. I will read this commentary. Subodhini makes some interesting point here. Ahankarasya utpatti purvakam purvat lakshanam aha. So the definition of ahankara is given by Tattvat Chaturabhi in the 4 verses. Vikurvanat, so it was said Mahat Tattvad Vikurvanat, means Karyonimukhat. When Mahat Tattva became active to produce something, then came ahankara. Usually it was said earlier that Mahatattva was peaceful, pure, without any change in it. So what causes the change? Then it says Bhagavat Virya Sambhavat, the power of the Lord. Otherwise it will not produce anything by itself. So therefore the potency of the Lord was needed. So this potency of the Lord is the time. Kalena hi gunak shobho vikritam sat karyam utpadeti. So it is the time which influences the gunas of Prakriti, and then the change occurs in Prakriti. So this Bhagavad Virya, this potency of the Lord is the time potency. न केवलम विकार मात्रेण किंतु अंतर भगवत शक्तिरपि सार्वजनिक अपेक्षते. So he says that this power of the Lord is necessary for anything to happen. Without it, no vikar, no change will happen. Therefore it was said Bhagavad Virya Sambhavat. Bhagavad Viryasya Sambhavo Yasmin, that in which Lord's power becomes manifest. Nahi jale mathyamane tatra avidyamanam ghritam utpadyate kintu dugdhe daghniva. There is one principle of Sankhya which is written here. although it will not come directly in the verses, and that is called Satkaryavad. Satkaryavad means when the effect is there in the cause, already in the unmanifest state. And that's why a particular cause can produce a particular effect. So he says that if you take water and you churn it, then you cannot expect butter coming out of it. But if you take milk or yogurt and churn, then butter will come out of that. So why? Because butter, which is the effect of churning, is already there in the milk or yogurt, but it is not there in the water. So because it is already present, you can bring it out. If it is not present, you cannot bring it out. So this is the principle of Satkaryavad, that effect is there and it becomes manifest. And if the effect is not there, it does not become manifest. It's a very important principle of Sankhya philosophy. Then there are other philosophers who have Asatkaryavad, Vivartavad. So that is refuted here. Therefore it says, Anenaiva Venashik Prakriya Nirakrita. So the Nayayikas, the logicians, they have another process, they call it Arambhavad or Asatkaryavad. They say that the effect is not there in the cause. Effect is produced new. So their logic is that if effect is already there in the cause, then why you have to produce it? And if effect is there in the cause, then cause itself can work like an effect. Then instead of wearing a cloth or using cloth to make a shirt, you can use thread and put on your body. So threads have different function and a cloth has a different function. Now if you say that cloth is already there in the thread, then just use threads. And why threads are called threads and cloth is called cloth? And why do you need a weaver to weave threads to make a cloth? Why do they have different names? So this means that effect is different, cause is different. That's their logic. And here they say that effect is there inside the cause, but in avyakta form, in unmanifest form. Cause is nothing but the effect in its potential state. Otherwise they say that if that is not the case, then you can produce anything from anything. Why is that you need specific cause to produce a specific effect? That means there is a cause and effect relationship, right? If there is no cause and effect relationship, then you can produce anything from anything. You can take water, churn it, and it should give you butter. But it does not happen. And if there is a cause and effect relationship, then they must exist together. Two things cannot have a relationship if they don't exist together. So according to logicians, when cause is there, the effect is not there. When effect is there, the cause is not there. And if this is the case, then you cannot have a cause and effect relation. Because relation is that which unites two things and both have to exist simultaneously. So if one is existing at one point in time and another is existing at another point in time, then how do you relate them? Because to relate two things, both must exist. So therefore they say that when cause is there, the effect is also there and they have a relationship. When effect is there, then also the cause is there, but it is unmanifest state. So when we say something is produced, all it means is that it has become manifest. When we say something is destroyed, then all it means it has become unmanifest. Otherwise nothing is created, nothing is destroyed, it's only a change of state. That's what we call producing or making, bringing it out. So this is the idea of Satkaryavad. There is also one philosophy called Swabhavvad. Satkaryavad, Asatkaryavad, Kshanikavad, Vivartavad, Arambhavad, Swabhavvad. So in the Swabhavvad, it is stated that Swabhavasya Niyamakatve tu Swabhavasvapi Tathatve Pramanam Vaktavya. They say that actually some objects have a nature, they are Swabhav to produce something. And therefore it is not that everything can produce anything. It has to have that Swabhav. This is the philosophy of Swabhav. So he says, well, then you have to prove that this Swabhav does exist. Achetana hi sarve niyantum shakyaha Ishvara eva kevalam aniyamya. So he says all those things which do not have consciousness, they are to be controlled, and Ishvara, or the Supreme Lord, is the only person who can never be controlled. Shastratah svabhavasya anatha bhavopi nopadyet. So he says that how is it that Swabhava is going to change by itself? If you do not accept the power of the Lord acting to bring change, then how is that Swabhava will change by itself? Patvadau tantvadi samagri chintamanyadescha karanatvena kalpamana vivicharnasya. And you need thread to produce a cloth, and a touchstone can produce anything. So there also you have to have some cause, or some, otherwise what is controlling there? You cannot say Swabhav, because Swabhav is only limited. Ato Bhagavad Shaktireva Ekaeva Sarvabhavan Rupa Pratiniyata Samudaya Pratekam Va Yatraya Utisthate Bhagavan Niyama Tataya Utpadyate Iti Yuktam Bhagavaneva Tathavir Bhavati Nevinashika Gandhati. So therefore he says the conclusion is that it is only the potency of the Lord which can become anything which exists in a group or in an individual object and which is controlled by the Lord. And therefore everything manifests by the power of the Lord, and in that sense it is Lord only who exists everywhere. And it is not the idea of effect being produced only without the cause. And he says then that there are also Vedic statements to prove this. Gyan pradhanat mahatatvat kriya shakti ahankara utpanna. Mahatattva, which is predominated by Gyan or consciousness, that produces ahankara, which is predominated by kriya or action. So usually our action is preceded by Gyan. First you have knowledge of something, then only you act. If you don't know anything about something, then there is no action, you cannot do anything about it. So first you have knowledge, then you have desire, then if you are capable of doing, then you take an action to do it. Or at least you have to think that you are capable, maybe you are not. And then if all the material is there, then he can produce the effect, bring it out. So therefore first is Chitta, which is Gyan Shakti, Gyanatmak, and then comes Ahankara, which is Kriyatmak, Kriya Shakti, action. And then it is described that it is of three types, also Trivida. Utpatyaiva tathaiva sampadita. So when Ahankara came into existence, it came in three ways. By its very birth, it has three heads of knowledge, action and objects. In other words, we have Ahankara of three things, that I am knowledgeable, or my Ahankara is in relationship to some action, I did this, I can do this, or in the form of possessions, I possess this, I have so much wealth, I possess big properties, objects. So our Ahankara is in relationship with these three things. Therefore he says that right from the beginning it came out in three ways. क्रिया ही भेदिका कारणभूतम गुणत्रयम कार्ये भिन्नतया उत्पादित. So Kriya, action, makes divisions. It acted on the cause. The cause has the effect in its potential state. But that potential state does not become manifest unless you make an action on it. So when the action is done, then the works of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas became divided. And that is the three types of Ahankara. Ahankara in Sattva, Ahankara in Rajas, Ahankara in Tamas. So Ahankara in Sattva gives knowledge, that in Rajas gives action, and Tamas gives matter. This is how Ahankara is developing. Then these three divisions are defined here in the next verse. Vaikarikas tajasascha tamsascha yato bhavaha mansaschendriyanam cha bhutanam mahitamapi. So from three divisions of Ahankara, three types of objects came. Those which are in Sattva, they are called Vaikarik. Those which are in Rajas, they are called Taijasa. And those which are in Tamas, they are called Tamasa. So they became manifest. And Manasas Chendriyanam cha Bhutanam Bhutanam. And these are the mind, the senses, and the Bhuta, the elements, Tanmatra. So mind comes from Ahankara in Sattva, and then there are 10 senses which come from Ahankara in Rajas, and then 5 Tanmatra which come from Ahankara in Tamas. So as you go from Ahankara from Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, then when you come to Tamas, it becomes gross and gross and gross. And the ultimate is the grossest element called Earth, Prithvi Tattva. So there is not much commentary in this. यतो येभ्यो वैकारिकस्तैजसस्तामसेभ्यो मन इंद्रिय भूतानां क्रमेण भवोत्पत्ति. It says that this mind, senses and the elements respectively they were generated from three types of ahankaras. Then he talks about the worshipable deity of ahankara. Previously we read that the worshipable deity of Chitta was Vasudeva. So ahankara deity is described here. Sahasra Sirsham Sakshad Yamanantam Prachakshate Sankarshanakyam Purusham Bhutendriya Manomayam. So this ahankara is also called Ananta. And as earlier Chitta was called Vasudeva. So this is by identifying the object and the worshipable deity as one. So when it is said that it is called Ananta, it means that the presiding or worshipable deity is the Ananta of Ahankara. So Sahasra Sirsha, it has 1,000 heads. So Ahankara means big head, right? So therefore 1,000 heads of Ananta. Otherwise it is not ego, biggest ego. He is the Lord of ego, so he has 1,000 heads. Because head is related with the ego. That's why it is always on the top part of the body. We don't want to keep our head down. They will tell you that I will not bow down my head even if my head is cut off. Right? So this is ego. When Mughals were ruling over India, they also had a lot of trouble fighting with the Rajputs in Rajasthan. And many kings, they were defeated by the Mughal army. And then these kings will become like chief of the army and be in the court of these Mughal emperors. So there was one king, his name was Amar Singh. And he was from Rajasthan and he was also in the court. He was young. Then his marriage was arranged, so he took leave from the court. He applied for the leave because they have to work until that. So he got 10 days leave or 15 days leave. But he went for marriage, and in India these marriage ceremonies are long functions, even now, not to speak of in the olden days. So he did not come to the court for 1 month. And in these Mughal courts there was always a tussle between Hindus and Muslims, because there were also Muslim ministers and there were Hindu ministers, and they will always try to get the favor of the king. So these Muslim ministers, they complained that, look, this Amar Singh has taken leave, he is not coming back, and he doesn't care for your authority. He went on leave for 10 days, it's already a month. So the king, obviously, kings have big ego. He said, yeah, why he is not coming? And he's not even sent a leave application. So the king sent a message for him to come. And these ministers, they actually wanted to kill him, because they were envious of him. He was a very heroic person and obviously very egoistic. So they devised a technique that when he was coming in, they closed the front door and he has to come from a window. And when he has to come through the window, he has to go down and his head has to first go down as if he's bound down, and he didn't want to do that. So he put his legs first and his head was hanging outside. And when his head was hanging outside, and these guys were waiting, they took a sword and cut off his head. So he says, I'm not going to bow down my head in front of these people. So he lost his head. So Ahankara is like that. So therefore Ananta, he always keeps his head up. Right? And Lord is sleeping on that, means he is the only one who can control it. Lord is sleeping on the bed of Ananta, means it is only he who can control it. And otherwise he is called Ananta, he is unlimited. The ego is unlimited. Unlimited desires, unlimited actions. It always will find something to keep itself alive. We talk of surrender and humility on the path of devotion, right? So bhakti is the only process which works because it is the only through bhakti that you can actually get rid of your ego, you can surrender to God and consider yourself a servant. But ego is very expert. Even when you become a servant, you say the most humble servant. You are not humble, but the most humble. Means you are still above everyone else. Even in the humility, you have defeated others. Or the most fallen. The most has to be there. Or even you will say the most useless servant.
This is ego. This is ego.
Yeah.
Of course, the most part is ego. It's surrendering at the same time standing up,
Yeah.
That even among the useless ones, I am the number one. That's what ego wants to be on top of everything else. Even among the fallen ones, I am number one fallen. How can I be number two? So this is how it works, but it can be transcended only by devotion, only by surrender to the Lord. Because nobody has bigger ego than him. Cannot compete with him. Natat samascha bhidikascha drishyate. No one is equal to or more than him. So that's why he is described here as Ananta. And Sahasra Shirsha, 1,000 heads. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasra Aksha, Sahasra Klak. Purushutta defines him on it. And he is called also Sankarshanakhyam, which means Sankarshan. Purusham Bhutendriya Manomayam. And he is the Purusha, he is a person, so one should not just mistake him to the material element. Therefore it is said that he is Purusha. And Bhuta Indriya Manomayam. That the elements, Panchbhutas, the senses, Indriyas and the mind, they are in him. So again this word signifies this Satkaryavad. That Bhut, Indriya and Mana, mind, senses and the elements, they are already existing in their potential state in the Ahankara. Otherwise, how can they become manifest? So everything is already there. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Tatra upasya devata maha sahasreta. So the worshipable Lord of Ahankara is being described here as one who has 1,000 heads. Yamiti manchaha kroshanti nyayane asti. So sakshadiyam anantam prachakshate. He is called Ananta. So there is one nyaya called mancha kroshanti. Literally it means that stage is shouting. So stage is shouting means that people on the stage are shouting. So here you are identifying the people with the stage. So similarly, Ananta is being identified here with Ahankara. That is the significance. So Ahankara is the Adi Bhautika, the material element, and Adi Devik is Ananta, which has 1,000 heads. And just as earlier we had Vasudeva, the worshipable or Upasya Devata. This is called Sankarsana. So by its nature, it is in tamas, and therefore is used for destroying. In Bhagavatam it is described that when it's time for annihilation, then he is throwing this fire from his mouth. And he is also called Sankarshan because he is the controller of the law of gravity. This gravitational force is coming from him. And when it is time to destroy, then just destroy the gravitation. And things can start colliding with each other. Finished. So that's why it's called Sankarshan. So we have this Mahatattva, Ahankara, and then there is also one more element which is not listed here, but it is described by Krishna in 11th Canto when he is talking about Sankhya. That is called Sutratma. So Chitta is in Sattva, Sutratma is in Rajas, and Ahankara is in Tamas, predominantly. So although here they said that Ahankara is Kriya Shakti, actually it is Sutratma which is Kriya Shakti. Ahankara is more like Dravya Shakti, and Chitta is Gyan Shakti. Three analyses. Gyan Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Dravya Shakti. So that's why all the Dravyas, the matter, becomes manifest from Ahankara. So whatever is done with Ahankara, that will bring destruction. Because Ahankara is the one which destroys. It is in tamas. Unless the Ahankara is related with devotion. So therefore there is a saying in English that pride comes before fall. Right? So when the Ahankara, the pride comes, then it's time for destruction. So great people, they were also destroyed by their pride. All these Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, they were actually very powerful people because they had very big Ahankaras. So Ravana is described having 10 heads. Means he also has Ahankara at least 10 times the normal person. Then Ahankara also gives desires, and these desires are unlimited. So that is also the significance that there are 1,000 heads, so it's unlimited. There is no end to desires. unless ahankara is put at the feet of the Lord. Candle. Let's see. So, and then in the next verse it says, Kartritvam karnatvam cha karyatvam cha iti lakshanam santaghora vimudhatvam iti vasadahim kritehe. Will you shake this somehow? Start. Slows. So he is further describing that these are the three characteristics of this ahankara, that kartritvam, karnatvam cha, karyatvam cha iti lakshana. That the agency means to do activities, and karnatvam, the instruments, and the karya, the effect. All these three become manifest from it. And Shanta Ghora Vimudhatvam iti Vasadahim. And it has three states. The state of peacefulness, Shanta, state of agitation, and state of delusion, bewilderment. These are three states of ahankara. So kartritvam devata rupena, karnatvam indriya rupena, karyatvam bhut rupena, santattvadikam trigunamatvena. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says that kartritvam here, that why ahankara is called kartritvam, or the agent, or having the agency, is because the devatas, or the presiding deities of the various senses, they also become manifest from the ahankara. There are 10 senses, and then there are 10 deities related with those 10 senses, and those deities also become manifest from ahankara. And it is because of those presiding deities that one is able to work. Otherwise it is not possible to work. So when a sense is not working, somebody's hands or legs become paralyzed, means that the deities are not functioning in that sense. Every sense has also got presiding deity. So Indra is the presiding deity for the hands. Vishnu is the presiding deity for the feet. So if they don't function, then we cannot work. So not only that you need the sense, you also need presiding deity for it to function. And karna means the cause or instrument, those are the senses. Decline it. And karyatvam, or the effect, that is the bhut, the material objects. They are the karya. Because when you do something, then it is in the form of some material elements. Then the three characteristics of Shanta, Ghora and Vimudha, they are in relationship with the three gunas. So one thing we have to know is that although it is said that Chitta is in Sattva and Ahankara is in Tamas, Chitta is in Rajas, but everything has got all the three gunas. Because Ahankara is also divided, Ahankara in Sattva, Ahankara in Rajas and Ahankara is in Tamas. So everything has got all these three gunas. Only thing is that one guna is more predominant. When we come to, say, material objects, then they are more tamasic in comparison to the senses. Senses are also made of matter. The objects are also made of matter. But senses are able to sense the object, not vice versa. So why is that? Because senses have superior guna than the object. So that's why they are able to sense. So gunas are there everywhere, but their percentage varies, and accordingly different characteristics become manifest in different objects. So ahankara, because it is of three gunas, then it has the characteristic of Shanta, and then Ghora and Vimudha. So similarly, this karya, kartritvam, karnatvam and karyatvam, this is also related with the three gunas. Kartritvam is related with sattva. So the devas, they are manifest from ahankara and sattva, so they are sattvic. Then you have karnatva, which is the senses, they are manifest from ahankara and rajas. And then karyatva is manifest ahankara and tamas. And if one becomes free from the ahankara, then these characteristics will not become manifest. So, to function in the world, you also need ahankara. Ahankara is not always bad. If you want to do anything, then ahankara is necessary. Only thing is that what is the purpose of your action that makes it good or bad. So if you want to do service to God, then you also need to have an ahankara. If I have no ahankara, I will make no action. Because without ahankara, there is no action. Those who have weak ahankara, they also cannot do anything in the world. And people who had big ahankaras, they did many things. Good or bad, of course, that depends what was their motive. But all these big conquerors in the past, whether it was Alexander or Napoleon, these were people with big ahankaras. That's why ahankara said that nothing is impossible. Because his ego was so big that he could not digest this word impossible. So he said we can cross the Alps. So this is ahankara speaking. So then perform action on that. So if you want to be good devotees, good servants, you need strong ahankara. But not proud that I am the doer. Because everywhere we should remember this Bhagavad Virya Sambhavat, that everything happens by the potency of the Lord. Otherwise ahankara also cannot do anything. They are all material elements. So if we can remember that, then we will not become proud and then it will not become destructive. Otherwise all our actions become the cause of bondage and suffering ultimately. So I'll stop here if there is any question.
I have a question about yesterday's class.
Yes.
You said that Bhakti path is the only practical path compared to yoga, or to, which propose to clean the mind, but the Bhakti is making the mind spiritual.
Yes.
And by the 9 limbs of Bhakti, like chanting and serving in different ways the Lord. So you say it is practical, it is. At the same time, it is also efficient when it is done in the frame of guru-disciple relationship. So, as far as I understand, so it is practical, but it is related to this guru-disciple relationship. So it is starting almost at the time of initiation with genuine spiritual master.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, where is the pure devotee, and where is the pure disciple, also qualified disciple in this world? And also I noticed that in the scripture in general, there are different examples given, like you say yesterday, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, but their own history is that they are in their previous life, they are already pure devotee. So so they, like Arjuna is a pure devotee, but Lord is showing through him, like is so-called he is in Maya, but actually he is not. But it is to show us how to be a devotee. But is there any example in scripture of devotee like Bhadajiva without any qualification from their previous lives, who became devotees, real devotees in a real sense, pure devotees?
Yeah, the example is there in the very beginning of Bhagavatam of Narada Rishi, when he is telling about his previous life. Because in this life he is a pure devotee and he has transcendental body, but he explains in the past life I was son of a maid servant, and then I got the association of the devotees and I served them, I listened to them, and then in that life he became perfect. So he was not a devotee from previous life. He's telling his own story. Also Dhruva Maharaj is not a devotee from the previous life. He's not. In fact even Prahlad is not. So there are examples. King Bharat also was not a devotee to begin with, but it took him 3 lifetimes. So that process, it may take more than 1 lifetime. And that does not mean that everybody has to be a pure devotee to begin with, and then only you can do devotion. There are examples of both types of devotees who are Lord's associates, who are obviously devotees to begin with, and there are others who are not devotees to begin with, but they become devotee.
So, okay, but now, practically speaking, at least for me, in my own life, Bhakti is sometimes presented as very easy, just chanting
It is not
and doing
easy.
service, but
I don't think that bhakti is easy.
no.
I know that we talk like that. It is not easy at all. If at all it is said that it is easy, statements in Shastra, Susukham Kartum Avyayam, that is only in comparison, because there are also other things which are prescribed, like performing some very austere things, like standing in the river up to your neck in the cold months, or doing Panchagni tap, standing in the fire for around 4 sides. You burn fire in the summer month of June and stand outside under the sun. So in bhakti you don't have to do things like that. In that sense it is easy, and also if you do kirtan, it's much easier than doing any of these things. But it is not as easy as people think. It's like, I just do kirtan and I chant and then I do it. Because you have to work with your ego. You have to clean these vasanas. And again, when I say clean, basically you have to change your consciousness. And because of my past samskaras, which keep on attacking me, it becomes difficult. So bhakti is difficult in the anartha nivritti stage. And after that it is very easy. Just like if you don't smoke and you want to learn how to be a chain smoker, then in the beginning it is very difficult. Because you are not used to smoking, so you will cough and then you tear in your eyes and you don't like it. But if you continue doing it, then you develop a taste for that and you get addicted, and then you cannot give it up. Then it becomes very easy to smoke.
Consider, try to apply in life.
So I'm giving that example because that example we can understand. Same thing happens in bhakti, that in the beginning, because it is the state where we are trying to get taste and we have not done bhakti, and therefore we are not used to it. So we have things which we like to do and which are not in line with bhakti, they come and create problem. So those are called anarthas. So that stage is not easy. After that it is easy, which is actually bhakti. That is the real bhakti. So that's why bhakti is easy. But this stage is not so easy. But it is easy in comparison to other processes.
So, where the bhakti starts? Exactly.
By hearing.
From who?
From Bhagavatam.
And what is the... Because this is described in Shastra, the process of bhakti is described in Shastra. And if I'm not connected with if I'm not initiated, so what is the value of this practice without being initiated? Just I'm hearing from different sources, and so I'm trying to practice bhakti. Is there any effect, or?
Yeah, everything has an effect. There's nothing which does not have an effect. So you will learn things, you may learn proper things, you may learn improper things. And therefore correspondingly the effect may be proper effect or improper effect. Effect is there. So hearing, of course, when I say hearing, it does not mean hearing from so many different sources, hearing from an authority, which means you study it, you understand it. That is the first point. Because if you want to study even material objects, material topics, you don't hear from so many people. You hear from one person whom you think is qualified to teach. So that's what hearing means. Srotavya kirtitavya smrtavya amyamichyata. So three basic things: hearing, chanting, remembering. These are most important.
And you're always dealing with Bhakti yoga. I have been many years in Bhakti. And you say something important, and it's deal with the ego, because sometimes you get into, for example, music bhajans leaders, and to be in the music bhajans leaders, you have ego all the time, that you have to start to deal with this and that. But on the other hand, Bhakti Yoga has a very healing thing, that you start to only sit down and listen to the kirtan, and something is happening to you even if you don't know. Something is changing in your soul. Something it's connected with Nada Yoga. So it's something that starts to heal, and you don't even know what is happening. But when you start only to sit and to listen to the kirtan and the bhajans, then you will see in life the process of this change. And this change doesn't become from you and from your partner. It's from God directly. And you even know how the miracles of Bhakti is. So it's really nice to go to the ISKCON temple and sit down and listen to the Bhakti. Don't think about, but God is changing everything.
This is your experience.
Oh, my experience is wonderful with Bhakti. But on the other hand, it's difficult. I mean, you see easy, but it's not so easy.
So I have to stop because I have to go. If there are more questions, we can discuss tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.